Hello and welcome to another episode of ClueCon Weekly. Today I am your host, Jon Gray, and with me I have lead solutions architect of SignalWire, Luca Pradovera, a very familiar face for you all. Luca, welcome to the show.
Hello and thank you. It's interesting to be on the other side of the fence for today.
Mm-hmm. No, it's gonna be a good conversation. It's definitely fun to see you on the other end, and we can be harassing you with some questions here.
Absolutely.
But starting of which, what have you been working on recently outside of ClueCon Weekly, and where people are usually seeing you?
Well, most of the effort has gone into, aside from a couple internal certifications, Datasphere, which is our new retrieval augmented generation feature we've added to the AI. It's an idea that came up, I would say, right before ClueCon, and we implemented some passes of it right there, and then it became a product, and now it's part of our environment. And it's on the uptake. People are using it. It's been interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the origin of it is kind of funny. I think I recall being in the van with Tony, you, and Brian West and Michael Jarrison as we're all crammed in together, coming across the ideas of how we could make the AI agent a little more powerful. But yeah, what specifically is Datasphere? What problems you think it kind of tackles, and how have you been able to work with it recently?
So let me start from how it was actually born. As many solutions, it's born out of a fully practical necessity, which is we're working with the Department of Motor Vehicles of Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, and they had we're helping them with their AI, with they're using our AI for the calls, and they had this 37-page document that had all the possible permutations of what you needed to bring to the office when you needed to get your license, renew your license. You were from the state, you were from outside the state, you were above 21, you were below 21. You wanted to drive a truck, you wanted to drive a car, and all the possible permutations of the above. So after helping them for a while build it out in a normal prompt, we realized it was so much work and it was not maintainable because any of the rules would change. You'd have waited through 20 pages of prompting to
Mhm.
find that you now needed to be 25-year-old to do whatever the thing was at 21 before. So
Definitely.
we came up with a way to feed it the actual manual, which they keep up to date. So all they need to do is change the manual, and it will just update everything. And that's where it was born many things were born out of a practical use case. I didn't want to have to maintain that. Essentially, it's laziness. Developers are lazy. The best developers are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, and as you kind of mentioned, you can't really throw a 30-page document into a prompt to an LLM. You'll just be using so many tokens, and it just becomes a latency nightmare having to process all of that. So, without getting too specific, you just give an overview of like how Datasphere works, a little bit about like RAG and what data formats we kind of are able to incorporate within Datasphere.
Absolutely. So the idea is that in general, with a something like GPT or any other LLM, the LLM. Well, I'm an engineer, so I don't want to say knows, but it's easier to go that way. The LLM only knows a certain block of knowledge, and if it doesn't know something, it will very, very often make it up. Like it's almost impossible to get an LLM to properly tell you it doesn't know something. Uh, that's where retrieval augmented generation comes in. Retrieval augmented meaning that you get a document or a set of documents or a database, whatever. It can be a million documents if you want to, uh, turn into a searchable format, and then retrieve the relevant components of the format from the database and put them in the prompt. So the prompt becomes, instead of hey, I am 21 years old, can I get a truck driver's license? It becomes according to the following blocks of content of knowledge. And here's a block from the manual that says that you need to be 25. I'm making this up; it's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another block that says if you are 25, you need to bring the following documents. And yeah, I will tell you, okay, so you're 21, you have the documents, but you're not old enough, so you cannot do that. So the idea is you feed it blocks of knowledge from the database. That's far easier than maintaining a prompt, very extensible because you can add a new document whenever you want. And our AI has the ability to differentiate between groups of documents. So you can have one group of documents covering one topic, another group of documents covering another topic. And it's really, it sounds simple when it's already done, but it's really how you get a lot of AI up to speed and running quickly. I feel like it's the single most, and I hope the AI team doesn't murder me for this, but I feel like it's the single most best feature we have, the fastest way you can get it running, because you literally take your whatever you got from your product department, stick it in Datasphere, and it usually just works.
No, definitely. And that's a lot of the wave of where we're seeing AI going, and incorporating data into some of these language models really helps instill trust. And I know that that's something that is kind of hesitant on a lot of businesses and their incorporation or, adoption of AI into their product lines. So I guess along that line, like, where do you see some product development creations given from Datasphere, or what challenges does this kind of solve that kind of weren't there before?
So let's start from the challenges of developing this. First of all, there's a few ways you can do this. You can even do your own, like you could have your own server serving knowledge to the SignalWire AI, but having built-in reduces latency. The other thing we needed to understand and decide on a platform is we benchmarked a few vector storage engines. So this works using vector search. Vector search, you could define it as a similarity of meaning kind of search, which is very interesting as a concept. Instead of searching for the exact keyword, look for for sentences that are close in meaning because they're used in the same paragraphs, because they're closer, they're repeated more often. The relevant words, so not the conjunction, the actual action words are closer to the start of a sentence. That's the goal. What we had to solve internally is mainly ingesting the documents in a way that makes sense. When you ingest the document, you cut it up in pieces called chunks, and we went through a few iterations to make sure chunks were not too small or not too large. There's a lot there that I think I had a talk at ClueCon about this. Yeah, I did. I don't know why I think I was there. As maybe we were out partying the night before, so I don't fully remember, but I did have a talk about it. So there's details on there. I won't be too technical. From a challenges solved from the user's perspective, the most important part is again rapid iteration, and it's really it starts from there. So the first thing you solve is, okay, now you can just throw it a PDF, do a reasonable prompt but nothing too fancy, and it will just work. That goes from starting from a rapid iteration and goes up into, you cannot do this any other way if you have 50 PDFs instead. Again, we could have coded or prompted the AI for the Ohio DMV instructions. In the end, it was a few tables. It wasn't too bad. The problem was two things. One, they wanted to add more, so now you have to do it again for another 40-page document. And
Mm-hmm.
two, that manual now says again that something has changed. You need to bring an ID now. You didn't need to bring an ID before. And the problem of correctness is extremely important in LLMs. Going back to the hallucination, if we give the wrong answer to people, I won't say it's dangerous. Like, it can be, but I hope nobody is using AI right now to get
Mm-hmm.
medical diagnosis or for medical prescription.
Yeah.
But if I tell you you don't need to bring your ID and you don't, and you drive for 40 miles to the DMV and then you go there and you needed your ID,
Mm-hmm.
you're at least going to be mad.
Yeah.
Again, nobody
Wait
got
on
hurt.
the line. Exactly.
And then you
No.
complain, and then they complain to us and say, well, the AI said the wrong thing. So it's very, very important how RAG correct next. In fact, I think honestly, all the production AI applications that are out there right now, whether in telephony or non-telephony or whatever, are very RAG heavy. Unless you're doing something fancy like you're using small talk to get some data or feature extraction or whatever. But if you're actually trying to inform people about something, you need RAG. Otherwise, it will just say, oh, you don't need any ID. Just go drive for 50 miles. And then you get there, oh, you needed your ID, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It
No, I
was,
think you can definitely see how much more sustenance is going to add it to the AI agent. The language models aren't used for little party tricks like telling jokes anymore or anything like that, but it seems like this is a use case that is always being shown, where they're like, hey, I need to parse through large amounts of data. And I think that's one of like the benefits and like the points that AI really strives through. So I guess, how do companies get started? Like, who would this kind of be aimed towards? And how would you recommend that businesses are able to adopt AI into their
No,
telecom infrastructure, or just their businesses?
AI in general, we've spoken about it a lot, what you should do, what you should not do. So I'll do my one sentence version, which is, in my opinion, AI right now is the best tool to solve 80% of your customers' problems. Don't try to solve all of them. Just do the 80%. Have a few agents in hand. Have our AI agent also has the ability to send an email or a post after a conversation. So you don't necessarily need a live agent, but teach your AI agent to do something like, okay, sorry, I couldn't help you, but
Mhm.
I will put you through with a live person, or I will have someone reach out momentarily and and a live agent just calls them. So do the 80% is going to save you millions of dollars and not get you stuck on something like, hey, so out of our 1,000 tests, there were three that failed, so now we can go into production, which is something that you never get. It's
Mhm.
So that's in general. When it comes to Datasphere, two things. First of all, you can combine Datasphere with other, we call them swag functions. So the ability to call into a knowledge base or a software or an API. So if you, for example, I'm thinking about an airline. An airline is going to be swag heavy. So if you're calling into an airline and asking, okay, I need to change my flight, most of it is not going to require RAG, but let's do this scenario. The AI needs to at least know in which cases you're entitled for a refund, for example,
Mhm.
or what happens. So just last week, a friend of mine was on a Delta flight, both a Delta One seat, so the first class seat, got on the plane, and the seat was double booked, and he was moved. You had a choice: either not fly or fly in the back of the plane.
Mhm.
So that's not something that you can get from an API. The API could help my friend, I don't know, rebook the flight or check if there were any other available options or something like that. But the AI wouldn't have known what to do. So the AI, you could use Datasphere to inform the AI to tell it, look, someone who had their first class ticket double booked has different rules than someone that's in economy class, of course, because that's
Mhm.
not what. So you get a full refund even if you fly. Again, that has to be correct. So it's not enough to put it in a prompt. It has to come from a source of information that's correct. Because if you say this person is entitled to a full refund, you effectively now committed to giving them $8,000 back. If
Mhm.
that was not true, they were already pissed because they lost their first class flight. Now they go to the Delta desk or the airline. That's not mentioned the airline. It just
Mhm.
happens to be Delta, but it can be anyone. They go to the airline desk and say, "Hey guys, so your AI told me that I'm entitled to a full refund," and they just look at him and say, "No, you're not getting anything. We'll give you a pack of mints and a and a
Yeah.
bag of chips," and that evolves into a legal issue very quickly at that scale.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a real case that I recall. But we'll just say Delta. It probably was them.
Yeah,
Where
well, they're large, so it can be just numbers.
yeah, he was
So yeah,
supposed to.
knowledge is always important because when you need your AI to make sure it's not saying something wrong as a concept, if you don't want your AI to say something wrong as content, I want to say, you can use prompting, you can use an API. So again, if we're checking your flight status, we'll have to call into a database, into a service, not into Datasphere. Datasphere is static content, but to know
Mhm.
what could have happened, you need a Datasphere. So those are two layers of a combination, and you can build very effective agents very quickly combining the two approaches. And again, just solve the 80%. It's totally fine, and it's more than you need.
No, definitely. And as we are kind of developing this, I think that, so I was briefly mentioning just e- eliminating hallucinations to instill trust in the customer experience. I think that there are so many of these agents and models out there that are trying to do too much. So I always kind of recommend, like, figure out what you do it well, and it'll be a great experience. But if you're expecting to solve every single problem that you have with your business, with one single GPT, you're going to be in a world of hurt for sure.
Well, architecturally, we support combining agents, and in fact, it's my preferred approach. Like if you're trying to code, let's stay on the airline. So the airline example is complicated enough. Like the DMV example was just about knowledge. It's the perfect Datasphere case because it had to be right to prevent people from being mad, but they didn't have to do anything else. Like as long as you got the correct information, you were good. You still have to go to the DMV to do the thing. Just need to get there with the rights. Let's stay on the airline. Airlines an airline AI can do a lot of different things because you might be wanting to book a flight, so you don't have a flight and you want a new one. You might be trying to change a flight. Nothing's wrong, but you have to go somewhere else or fly a different day.
Yeah.
You cancel, rebook, change your seat, change your class, check your status, whatever. So what I always recommend is don't do all of those into a single giant bot, but instead do a head agent that knows the others, knows how to find the others, and then have one agent that's solely for booking new flights. One is solely for rebooking. One is solely for changing your seats. In the end, you do the same thing on a website. Like if you go to, again, I have had status with Delta for years, so that's why I said that it wasn't happening. But I have status when I go to the Delta website. If I'm changing my seats, I'm not also rebooking the flight. I have a flight and I'm trying to seat in a different place. I'm not doing this thing at the same time. So why should we do that in AI? So and SignalWire makes it really easy. Agents are composable. You can use sub agents. You can use the power of WML to just redirect to another agent and come back, keeping the status. There's a lot you can do to really decompose it into components. And this plays into Datasphere. Like you might have a Sage agent that's the one that's more tied into Datasphere, that's able to do the more complicated searches. And you might have an action agent that takes what the Sage agent said and turns into action. So also a way to keep code manageable. Instead of having a 2,000 line of code JSON file, you have a few that are 100. It's much, much, much easier to do.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, you kind of led into one of my final questions of just how does SignalWire AI agents, just kind of the new call fabric, or some of just the telecom history that they do have with FreeSwitch, how do they make things easier, not only for the customer experience, but also kind of for developers in order to get just the entire ecosystem that they have nailed down? So, how are we able to help the customers, and then also what's going on for the developers? Because I know that's a hot topic for us.
Well, there's a lot of ways we can get started. Like if you go to the dashboard, there's actually two different interfaces to build an AI bot. One is the simple interface, one is the advanced interface. Those two are, of course, differ in what you can set and change and whatnot. My favorite way, being an engineer, is just writing it up in JSON. You can use JSON or YAML to write it up, and then just host it either on SignalWire serverless endpoints, which is probably a good way to get going, or you can host it in your own web server and have your phone call, SIP call, call center, whatever, find the AI when you need it through SignalWire's infrastructure. That is inconsequential. Like just host the JSON somewhere and it will just work. My idea is, again, start small, try solving a couple problems at the start, and then go deeper. If you listen to your I hope we don't both get fired by doing this, but if you listen to your product people trying to make you do 100 things at once, it would just not work. Sorry guys, I'm just joking, but I mean it's a very good way to get lost. And also one important thing with LLMs is that you have to be very clear on how you explain things. And sometimes we feel like we've used GPT for trivial things, as you said earlier. So it always feels like it's easier. Just pay attention to your prompting, because that's another way you get a lot of errors. It's just making things up. But to get started, just go register for SignalWire, go to your desktop, to the dashboard, and you'll find two different ways to build an AI agent. Plus, there's a couple good blog posts. I think we can link one and in the video description. One for Datasphere and one in the AI introduction for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's too many blog posts about my favorite AI agents, and I think that's the best way to get started. Find something that you just want to solve, whether it be fun or for business cases, and then kind of go back from there. But Luca, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Covering about what's going on in your world?
Well, right now we're focusing on a subset of this. We're working on it's already ready release, but we need to tune it a little. We're working on automatic transcription and translation of calls, both from voice to text and from voice to voice, plus text to voice. So what's coming? What's already there? It's documentation. Is just me posted is you can do the following things. Say I'm on a call with you. I could speak in Italian and you hear English. I could speak in Italian and you get the transcription of what I'm saying in an endpoint, so in text. So your web app gets what I'm saying in text, and you can do whatever, do captioning, say you cannot hear. And we're using this for, right now, there's a large company starting to use this for adaptive technologies. So the ability for someone who can't hear to conduct a phone call. The other thing we've added, which is unique in the market, is the ability to type to speech. So if you're not able to speak for whatever reason, you can type what you want to say and the other person will hear it. So if the other person only has a phone available where they only have voice, say you're an actual phone call, so you can message or whatever, which happens more often than it sounds, you will hear what I'm saying while I'm typing it. That's extremely effective for a few reasons. Now, adaptive technologies are one. Reality, 90% of this is going into call centers right now. Like we have
Yeah.
pilot customers that are doing this just for because it's honestly makes operating a call center that much cheaper. If you know that 5% of your call is going to be in German and you don't have enough, that doesn't justify hiring 3 people that know German. Just turn on the automatic translation and done. The other usage point is people just transcribe calls. Our transcription supports diarization, which means Luca said and John said. It's actually numbered, but you can just go back to who is one and who is two. And they use it for their own AI platforms, especially some kind of sentiment analysis. Almost all call centers right now are using transcription in AI for sentiment analysis. I think this customer is angry. They even page the supervisor. Like there's systems that will send a Slack to the supervisor telling, "Hey, go check on Luca. He's pissing off John real bad before something." And that's the next step when it comes to what we're doing with AI. Datasphere is growing. We're looking into a couple ways to tune it. We're adding more formats aside from PDF. And I know there's a prototype that can do vision. So the ability to inform the AI through an image or a set of pictures. Say you have a catalog or whatever, just give it to the AI. The thing is incredibly precise. I wouldn't have, until you try it, you don't realize how good it is.
Interesting. Yeah, I was training with all the pictures of the hot dogs. If you remember that meme back when those first came out. No, that's really exciting and cool things to look forward to. I know I am part of the team that's hosting some AI office hours. We host those every single month, as well as a lot of live wires and other ways to kind of get involved or just reach out to our team. And I know that you and I, Luca, are really excited about this stuff. And they're fun, they're cool projects, they're really interesting. And I think that the future of AI and telecom, is really bright.
Yeah, again, my key takeaway here as a solutions architect, so someone that works with companies, we build stuff, we deploy stuff, and they run it out, is it's really a tool that can make your customers happier by 80% and cut your costs by 80%. So take a look into it. AI, well, there's another thing. Let me say one last thing. Recently, I hear there's an election going on somewhere in the world. It's apparently pretty important. I don't know. I don't know where or what. There's some guy with orange hair and a woman that's like the vice president or something. They seem to be very angry at each other. I'm from Italy, so I'm used to politics. Our politics all the same, like for everybody. But jokes aside, there's a lot of calling going on. Canvassing, trying to get people involved, trying to get people to vote. Think about what you could do with an AI that instead of calling one person every 5 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever, could call 1 million people in 5 minutes. You'd be done with your campaign, and you can just you won the election, and you can just go play golf.
Yeah.
And it's so the idea is that AI is not only something that solves not a knowledge problem; it solves a scale problem. You instantly now have enough agents to do whatever you need. You need 1,000 calls, it will just do it. You need 1 billion calls. Let us know before you do, but it will just do it. Mostly because your account will get flagged for spamming. If you let us know, it's fine.
No, the computers won't yell at you when you overwork them. So I completely agree. That's what they're best at. And AI just adoption into computers, and they're really every company is just infrastructure. Is really bright for us. Well, Luca, thank you for joining us this week. I'm sure we'll be seeing you around ClueCon Weekly.
Yeah, I think I think I've been here before, so I'll be back again. Maybe next time we can do the reverse.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I want you to ask me some interesting questions for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, have a great day, and thank you for watching.
Thank you very much. See you next time.